Hi, Dan. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great to start. I think this show is so smart about how it uses these actors who we all kind of know and love. And you both play against type and with that type at the same time. And I think that's so cool and smart to watch. And so I wanted to ask, how did that change from season one to season two? Did you have a little bit more freedom in knowing like, yeah, Zach Cherry's really funny. We can amp this up, or Adam's everyone's gonna be like, that's Ben Wyatt. Let's amp this part up.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that we were always conscious of the image that an actor is bringing as they're coming into the show and what people think of that actor and how that's going to affect how they see the character. Certainly was true with Adam. It was true of Christopher Walken, who often plays, more sinister characters. And so we love the idea of having him as this character who is initially feared by the MDR department and distrusted, and then turns out to have this kind of beautiful heart and this beautiful love story. And yeah, we continued that in season two. We have some new cast members, and many of them have a previous are well known actors who people will have preconceptions of, and sometimes we're going to be leaning into that, and sometimes we're going to be leaning away from it, but it's always intentional.
Well, and I do have to ask because one of my favorite lines in, I think it's the first episode he says it, it might be the second, I can't remember. But Zach Cherry, when he's talking to John Turturro, says, I'm sorry that he has like a hot husband or whatever when they're kind of going back and forth. And that storyline was, I think, the most surprising for me because, like you said, like I did never thought I would see John Turturro and Christopher Walken in a romance, and then it was beautiful. How has that kind of like playing with that romance been for you guys and like seeing the reaction that people had in season one to those two being in love with each other?
Yeah, I mean it's wild because these are guys that we're normally used to seeing as real tough guys, and you don't necessarily expect them to show that kind of vulnerability. Although both actors have certainly shown over the years that they can do that, and that they have that side of them as performers. But I love that Dylan now kind of takes responsibility for the relationship of Irving and Burton. It's kind of like, yeah, well, the whole thing was my idea when he was literally like accusing Bert of attempted murder and stuff in season one. Now that he knows Bert's cool, there's a little bit of revisionist history happening on Dylan's part.
He's leading the charge on AO3. He's writing the fic now.
Yep.
Um, for a last quick thing, I love the mystery of the show. Just it's that is what kind of drives my deep love of it because I want to know what's happening next. What for you is the most exciting part when audiences are now following the mystery along and trying to figure out what you guys have planned?
It's always a little bit there's a anxious element to watching people speculate about the show, because you're on one hand you're worried, you don't want people to guess what you were going to do. You also don't want people to guess something and fall in love with a certain idea, and then have be disappointed by what you were ultimately going to do. So I keep telling myself I'm going to stop reading the Reddit threads, but it's too much damn fun. I can't do it. I'm just resigning myself to the fact that I'm always going to read them. But yeah, I mean, it's just great to watch people engage with the show on that level, not just as viewers, but then come being creative themselves and coming up with these cool new ideas for directions it could go. It's just wonderful.
Thank you so much for talking with me and giving me another show where I can make sure everyone knows Adam Scott's our best television actor. And
Absolutely.
I and I
I don't
appreciate
know
your
how
time
much more
today.
proof we need.
Me either. But thank you. Have a great one.
Thank you. You too.